It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
I said I'm A-Town finest, so put my game down, grinding. Was on them Greyhounds trying to get out of state. My assignment was hit the stage at a college, encourage kids that could do it. Told them how to reach greatness, some days you must be secluded. On my own shit, hang up the phone shit, they on some clown shit. I'm David, I stay with a stone for cracking your dome with. Play me, I come to your home and ring your alarm. Bitch, I'm crazy, this ain't just a song. Quit raising your tone, prick. I'm that nigga that number one spot, nobody can't top, I ain't even got dropped though. Big dog gon' run my block, got the blade on chop, beat nigga like Nacho. Rent do nigga sell like rock, move bass, I not do me like Rocco. Spend a bitch, she say I'm guapo. No money, I say no hablo, no English. My screenplay, try to get stretched out like Bengay. Don't call me, let you and your friend on the line, try to put it on three-way. I'm Green Bay, I'm about my cheese, nigga run up the chat like relay. Got leeway, I flip my style like I'm a lucha libre.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid Jay Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there this evening. In this particular show, we're going to be getting into Megan Thee Stallion and Milagro Grams once more. You know that we've been covering this entire saga. Nothing will change moving forward until this whole back and forth has subsided and the judge makes their final ruling on who the winner is and who will be awarded damages and such. Okay. Now, the last time I came on YouTube, I told y'all that there was a pending gag order that was going to be placed on both Milagro Grams and Megan Thee Stallion. This is a joint gag order. Okay. It doesn't just go one way. However, we don't really have to worry about Megan Thee Stallion coming out and speaking about this situation because she hasn't been, right? The only thing that she's really spoken about is Tory Lanez and his team, right? And some of the lies that they've been putting out in the, the hate campaign that they've been running or the propaganda that they've been spewing on social media and trying to get into the media. But other than that, Megan has not been talking about this situation, so nobody should be worried about that, right? However, Milagro Grams, on the other hand, has been talking about it since it came down the pipeline. She hasn't stopped on Station Head yet. She hasn't stopped, creating weird narratives online. She hasn't stopped running her fucking mouth talking shit. And unfortunately, she just doesn't learn her lesson very well. Okay. So with that gag order, we also have an order from the judge in terms of Milagro's previous attorneys. Remember, last time I spoke on her, I mentioned that her attorneys have documents that are supposed to be for attorney eyes only. I did misspeak about that. I said that they need to turn that information over to Milagro. I misinterpreted that. It was actually it's actually being ordered that information stays away from Milagro and can only be shared with her new lawyers, being that she does have two new attorneys that have filed on her behalf. So once they get admitted to represent her and her former representation is available to respond to ensure that Milagro can't get access to that information, new versions of those documents will be sent over to her new representation. All right, we're going to read through both of these documents, the order about the sensitive information and also the gag order on public speaking around this case. So first up here we have the order governing pretrial publicity. Okay, this is from the judge. All right, judge says, this cause having come before the court at the request of plaintiff Megan Pete through her notice of issues to be discussed at discovery hearing ECF number 78 and on the order setting status conference, the court held a hearing on June 4th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. is otherwise fully advised in the premises and hereby rules as follows. This is an action against defendant based upon alleged statements and postings made by defendant on social media platforms concerning the highly publicized circumstances surrounding the shooting of plaintiff Megan Pete and the subsequent trial and conviction of the shooter. Plaintiff's amended complaint asserts claims against defendant for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, cyber stalking, and promotion of an altered sexual depiction of plaintiff in violation of Florida law, ECF number 28. At the June 4th hearing, plaintiff's counsel advised the court that while this case has been pending, defendant has continued to post critical and derogatory statements about plaintiff and the underlying criminal case on her social media platform. Defendant, on the other hand, contended that her statements were made in response to plaintiff's social media posts. Courts have long held that the First Amendment right to free speech is not absolute and can be subordinate to the right to a fair trial by an impartial jury in certain special circumstances. So basically, they're saying that Milagro's public outbursts and social media station head conversations are possibly threatening the jury pool, right? Not threatening in terms of threats, but threatening the impartialness of a jury, meaning they could hear these conversations on social media and it can make it hard for them to, not be biased in court, because this is seeking a jury trial, by the way. Okay. The court has an affirmative constitutional duty to minimize the effects of prejudicial pretrial publicity. All right. They then cite Rosbach versus Rundle, an order restricting the parties from making extrajudicial statements in the media as appropriate or is appropriate where the potential for pretrial publicity impacting upon the right to a fair trial is great. This appears to be such a case. Both plaintiffs' and defendants' social media postings have been viewed by their large following, and plaintiffs' counsel expressed concern that defendants' posts have generated severely critical and derogatory comments about plaintiff by defendants' social media followers and could incite acts of violence. As such, further extrajudicial statements by plaintiff and defendant could taint the jury pool. Therefore, it is hereby ordered and adjudged that while this case is pending, neither plaintiff Megan Pete nor defendant Milagro Cooper nor anyone acting on either party's behalf shall discuss this order, this case, or any witness in this case in any public forum or manner, including in any post on any social media platform, whether the account is public or private, any phone conversation, email, text, or other form of electronic communication that is intended to be made public, including without limitation any media interview and any press conference, live stream, or media appearance. Okay? So for both parties, anytime that they're going to be subjected to public speaking, whether that be interview, press conference, live stream, or whatever it may be, this is now forbidden to speak about. Okay? For the fairness of the trial. Counsel are further directed to adhere to Southern District of Florida Local Rule 772 regarding the release of information in criminal or civil proceedings and extrajudicial statements or interviews, and Local Rule 11.1c, which incorporates the rules regulating the Florida Bar 4-8.4d, prohibiting conduct prejudicial to the administration of justice. Nothing in this order should be construed to foreclose either party from responding to any subpoena or court order regarding matters related to this action. Violations of this order by either party or their counsel will subject the offender to contempt proceedings by this court. This order shall remain in force through the conclusion of the case unless modified by the court, done and ordered in chambers at Miami, Florida, this 10th day of June, 2025. Honorable Lisette M. Reed. Okay? So any violation, any further conversation surrounding the trial, the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion by Tory Lanez, the conviction, or anything of this nature is now prohibited speech for Megan, for Milagro, and their counsel. Okay? Violation will be held in contempt, meaning you can either be jailed or fined for violation. All right. Now let's get to the other order placed by the judge. This order here is about sensitive information and documents. Okay. So order following June 4th, 2025 status conference. This cause came before the court at the request of Megan Pete through her notice of issues to be discussed at discovery hearing ECF number 78 and on the order setting status conference. The court held a hearing on that date, 9:30, blah, blah. Defendant Milagro Elizabeth Cooper appeared without counsel at the June 4th, 2025 status conference. Both her previous local counsel and Pro Hoc Vitae counsel have withdrawn, and she has been ordered to either retain new counsel or file a notice of intent to proceed pro se. Now, at this point, she has had two people step forth that are seeking to represent her, so she probably will not have to proceed pro se. At the hearing, plaintiff's counsel advised the court that defendants now withdrawn counsel Michael Hayden and Michael Pansier failed to confirm satisfactorily to plaintiff's counsel that they have not and will not transmit material produced subject to the protective order in this case, ECF number 40, and designated as attorney's eyes only to defendant Cooper. Accordingly, it is ordered, adjudged, and decreed that plaintiff's counsel shall serve this order on attorneys Hayden and Pansier within 3 days of entry of this order. Once served, attorneys Hayden and Pansier shall each certify via mail to plaintiff's counsel that they have, via email to plaintiff's counsel that they have not transmitted materials marked attorney's eyes only to defendant and that they will return to plaintiff's counsel within 3 days all materials or documents plaintiff's counsel produced to them that were designated as confidential or attorney's eyes only under the protective order. Defendant's newly retained counsel shall sign an addendum to the protective order confirming that they are bound by it. Plaintiff's attorney shall then provide to defendant's newly retained counsel replacement copies of any documents or information previously produced that were designated as confidential or attorney's eyes only under the protective order. Plaintiff's counsel may share attorney's eyes only material with its experts even if not produced. It is further ordered, adjudged, and decreed that defendant's deposition shall take place on July 1st, 2025 in person at plaintiff's counsel's office in Houston, Texas. Okay, so Milagro will have a deposition on the 1st. Okay, this is going to be happening in Houston. The deposition shall occur regardless of whether defendant has retained counsel at that time, although she has, but the judge still needs to approve them. Both parties agreed to this date at the hearing, or they might have been approved. Gotta remember. I'm gonna go through that to confirm. The failure to attend or appear at the deposition may result in sanctions. Upon request of plaintiff and by agreement of both parties, the following pretrial deadlines are modified. Okay, so now exchange of expert reports. They were due June 27th. They're now due July 18th. Exchange of reply expert reports deadline is now moved from July 11th to the 25th, and completion of all discovery was supposed to be wrapped up by the 25th of July. It is now moved to August 1st. All other deadlines in the court's amended order setting trial and pretrial schedule shall remain unchanged. The parties are reminded of the requirement to comply with the undersigned standing discovery order available on the court's website. Counsel must meet and confer by telephone or in person and engage in reasonable compromise in a genuine effort to resolve their discovery disputes before seeking the court's intervention. The court will enter a separate order prohibiting the parties from commenting to the press or any media platforms, including social media, on matters related to this case while it remains pending, which was the gag order that we just read prior to this one. Okay? And as previously stated, it has been approved for Rhonda Dixon and Jeremy Alexander McLemont to now represent Milagro. Okay. And again, Miss Rhonda Dixon was someone who wanted to represent Tory Lanez in his trial and his post-trial endeavors. as in his hopes to appeal and all that type of stuff. But actually, and I'm just going to say that I heard that the reason why Miss Rhonda Dixon was not permitted to actually represent Tory Lanez during that time period is because Milagro Grams. Now that's funny. They say that Milagro had heard about an interview that Miss Rhonda Dixon had conducted with Megan Cuniff. If you tuned into my last video concerning this subject, you would see that I read through Megan Cuniff's report about the conversation she had with Miss Rhonda Dixon. Milagro then went and alerted Tory Lanez and his father and their team, allegedly, and said, hey, this lady that's supposed to be representing y'all is out here conversing and doing interviews with the ops. Now, the fact that a journalist could be considered an op, that's interesting to me. But for whatever reason, she allegedly gave them that tip. They moved forward and they decided not to move forward with Miss Rhonda Dixon, who was actually advocating very strongly for Tory. Now, allegedly, Milagro has spoken down publicly about Miss Rhonda Dixon. I can only say allegedly. But now the tables have turned. She's at her wit's end. She has no other place to go. And now Miss Rhonda Dixon has stepped up as her lead counsel with the help of Mr. Jeremy Alexander McLamont, who is based in Florida. Very strange turn of events. I don't know how this thing is going to go. It was just a couple days ago before this order was actually approved that Milagro was still on social media talking about all this stuff and making, references to what's happening. And she was like, I got to stay off the mic. Y'all not understanding. Y'all calling me lazy and all this stuff. So it's just now clicking a year later that maybe she should shut the fuck up. But now it's too late. She's donezo. You know what I mean? So now if she goes on Station Head and talks further about this situation, she will be held in contempt of court with various possible punishments that can follow. All right. Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Much love and respect, y'all. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. But drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they died of me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but you run no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.